Yay! This is so exciting. I mean, I used to do TV, Dawn, and
Yeah.
so you'd think I wouldn't get excited about a little streaming. Look, my nails, they don't look like they're done because I'm not worried about my stuff.
Right.
But for some reason, I was more nervous about this than being on television. I'm so grateful to have you on board. I'm so excited to serve everybody who's tuning in today. We have our friend, the Minimal Mom, very popular and famous on YouTube. She has hundreds of thousands of followers and millions of views. She's going to help us today from her book, Declutter Your Home in 15 Minutes a Day, and also her book, Decluttering by Faith. She's going to give away copies of each of those books today for our special Valentine's Day giveaway. I'm going to give a little bonus giveaway of my book, Mom, You're Amazing. Yay. Thank you for saying yay. But first and foremost, Dawn is going to change your life today as a mother. I mean,
No pressure.
Yeah, exactly. Because I think so many women, so many mothers are not aware of how their stuff is hurting them, how their stuff is hurting their kids, how their stuffed schedule is harming their lives, harming their family life. And you have studied this. You have become a minimal mom, and you have such a beautiful thing to share today. Unique, different, some of it maybe never heard before. You've shared a lot of it before, but you're going to share some new stuff for Valentine's Day 2023 right here on Channel Mom. And I want you to first start by just sharing your story. How did you become a minimal mom? And then we'll get to how your stuff is making you sick. We're going to get to that.
Yeah. Well, so Jenny, if we go back about 8 years ago, we had 4 kids, ages 4 and under. I was a stay-at-home mom. I got to be a stay-at-home mom. And I just remember thinking, this is what I've always wanted. And in fact, I knew many moms who wanted to get to stay home with their kids who couldn't. And so in my mind, I had this struggle because I'm like, I should feel so fortunate. I have it all. But yet each day I felt stressed. I felt anxious. I would watch the clock until counting down until Tom was going to be back home, thinking like, okay, I have an hour till he gets home. I should pick up all the toys. Okay, a half hour. I should really get dinner started. 15 minutes. If I just mad dash pick up really quick, at least it'll look like I did something today, right? And some days I would, and I'd get it kind of pulled together before he came home. And other days I just didn't even have it in me. All I could think was, why would I pick up these toys when I'm just going to have to pick them up again tomorrow? All the dishes, I'll wash them again the next day, all the laundry. And so I felt very stuck, but I also then felt very guilty for that. And so I would not say anything to anyone, but I would search Pinterest and I'm like, okay, I need a cleaning chart. I need a meal plan. There has to be something that will save me. And so one day I was just listening to a podcast and Joshua Becker was on it, who's become a very well-known minimalist now. And he just said this one question. He said, did you know that you don't have to have all of this stuff? And it stopped me. And I was like, I'm sorry, come again? You don't have, I'm like, we have 4 kids. I just have all this typical stuff that comes with kids. And so it just kept resonating with me. And so I started Googling minimalism. I was trying to figure out could this be the answer that I'm looking for? Now, 8 years ago, there wasn't a lot out there on this. And so I just started decluttering and getting rid of stuff. And it took about a year and we got rid of 80% of our stuff. But by the end of that year, I got my house to a point where I could really tell you that I was enjoying being a mom again. I felt like a better wife. I could stay on top of our house. And it was such a peaceful place to be. And so now since then, I vowed once I got my house figured out and decluttered that I was going to help other moms do the same thing.
Amen. And I decluttered my pantry the other day after 20 years of just letting it build up. And I felt, it's such a weird thing, but I felt like a different person, so free and light just from my pantry.
Yeah.
So tell me, you got rid of 80% of your stuff. Most Americans can't even conceive of that.
Yeah. And, my filter was, I was just looking for things we weren't using. So if we hadn't used it in the past year, I didn't know for sure we were going to use it coming up in the upcoming year. Then I decided, because this was kind of just a big experiment I was doing. I didn't even tell Tom what we were doing. I just decided I am just going to test this out and I'm going to let it go. And it was just so funny because I look back now and we don't miss any of it. Like I kept everything we use, anything that makes my life easier. Like I didn't get rid of my microwave or my washing machine. Like I kept the things that we used and made life easier. It was just all that other stuff that we don't actually use.
Amen. All right. Beautiful story. I also think it's a story of faith, because I
Yeah.
don't think God wants us to be beholden to our stuff, ruled
Hmm.
by our stuff, a slave to our stuff, a slave to ensuring the stuff, cleaning the stuff,
Yeah.
all the stuff that comes with that.
Yeah.
So I know today you're going to explain how our inventory owns us,
Hmm.
but this concept, we're not trying to be downers on Valentine's Day, but this concept of, does your stuff make you sick? How is your stuff making
Yeah.
you sick? I think a lot of moms who feel sick and tired a lot think,
Hmm.
how can I relieve myself of feeling sick and tired all the time? So tell
Yeah.
moms today listening, how is their stuff making them sick?
Right. So what we're learning now is that there is a direct correlation between clutter and extra stuff in our house and stress and feelings of anxiety, depression, discouragement, dissatisfaction with life. So
Yeah.
if we're living in a cluttered environment, and you might feel that sometimes in your house, especially if it's just gotten like kind of messy, you just feel kind of yuck. Like you're just
Yeah.
kind of like, and we
And
don't
even
always know.
angry. Like, doesn't it ever make
Angry?
you a little
Yeah.
angry? Yeah.
Sure. Resentful,
Yeah.
and your kids kind of annoy you. You don't have the same level of patience with them. And and so what we're realizing is that there really is a direct correlation between stuff and these feelings. But what's hard and what we have to war against is that marketing is telling us that there is a product that will solve your problem. So there's things you can buy to make meal planning easier, to toys to entertain your kids. And so marketing is telling us you just have, if you're feeling like yuck in your house, you just need new bins, like you need new organizing
New
containers,
cleaning
you need.
products. Yeah.
Exactly. And so it's very hard to deprogram our minds to say, no, actually, what you need is less stuff, fewer toys, fewer kids' clothes, fewer pairs of shoes to pick up at the end of the day. And that's what's going to bring peace to your house.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, there is a correlation between overwhelm, and the fear that all that stuff can, like, how are we insuring it? How are we taking care of it? Do we have to get a new
Mhm.
one? There is a correlation between that and sickness. And I think you
Yeah.
know that that's a truth. So,
Hmm.
I think sometimes it can also make us feel sick to think about taking care of the decluttering process of like,
Yeah.
I need all this, or I can't even begin to deal with it. So if
Yeah.
our stuff is making us sick, if it's making us stressed, another question, is it hurting our relationships?
Oh, yeah. There's actually a fascinating study that showed that people in a cluttered environment, they weren't able to interpret the emotions of TV characters. So they like surveyed people like, what's this person feeling? And we actually become like desensitized to the people around us. And so we don't have the same level of empathy with them. Like, and we know that, right? We just kind of get annoyed. Like, why are you acting like, like, what do you need from me? What?
Yeah.
Like, does anyone care about my needs right now?
Yeah.
And so, yes, great point. It leads to that too.
Well, and before we get to some solutions from your book, Declutter Your Home in 15 Minutes a Day, do I have that right title?
Yeah.
Because I have this one sitting next to me, but I don't have that one sitting next to me. Before we get to that, I want you to explain your theory of inventory and the
Hmm.
voices that
Yeah.
every mom walking around her house is hearing, and it's hurting her. Can you
Yeah.
talk about that?
So again, most of us, the amount of stuff in our house is crept up and it's not a manageable amount. And so as women, generally we get down on ourselves. We say, I'm lazy, I'm unorganized, I'm not a good mom, I'm not a good wife. And we just think there is something wrong with us. But the truth is that if we start to look at our stuff as inventory, we're just trying to manage too much inventory. And none of us were designed or have the tools or skills to manage this much stuff. So that's again where minimalism comes into play. And you don't have to become a minimalist, but lowering our inventory makes it so we have less to manage. And what you're going to find is when you get the inventory down to a manageable amount for your season of life, the age and stage of your kids, that all of a sudden you can keep it organized. You can pick it up at the end of the day pretty easily. You can involve your kids, and it's not like a war with them. It's not so emotional. It's like not a big deal. And so we have to start looking at our stuff as inventory. And that starts to take some of the emotion out of it because we can start to feel guilty really fast about the money we've wasted, about the things we thought we would use, I mean, I was the queen of buying stuff at garage sales, like kids' clothes, kids' toys. I took it all, right? Because I thought that was going to solve my problems. And so if we look at it as inventory, it's too much for us to manage. It makes it a little bit easier to part with.
Yeah. Um, Last question before we get to solutions, our Valentine's Day solutions and our giveaway as well. I'm wondering about the problems that our stuff causes that we're not aware of, and why we're so attached to our stuff. And I think in America, where we sometimes forget that we're in the top 5% of the world in terms of income and what we have, when we compare ourselves to the Joneses that have a 7,000 square foot house and we only have a 2,000 square foot house, we can feel like we don't have so much wealth, but we do. And so in that competitive mode, in that comparison mode that frankly is perpetuated by social media, is it harder for the average American to get rid of their stuff as they're comparing and trying to keep up with the Joneses?
Yes, 1000%. You hit the nail on the head. Again, because we actually truly believe that it's going to make us happier, because that's what marketing has told us and that's what social media tells us. I mean, everyone looks so happy in their pretty house and their new car and all of that. I mean, surely they're happier than we are.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Amen.
Absolutely. Yes.
So yeah, it's hard for Americans. And I think even me, like if I think, well, what if I get rid of that? Then I won't have as nice of whatever as so-and-so. I mean, really, we tend to think like that. So it's sad, but true, but it's so freeing. It's a spiritual thing. I think God wants us to be unencumbered and to be set free and not burdened by our stuff. Michelle is reminding me that you also have something that you say that a lot of women are carrying around, and it's a burden, which is the silent to-do list.
Yeah. So again, going back to how our stuff makes us feel, there's a book by Fumio Sasaki that's called Goodbye Things. And in that, he proposes that we have this silent to-do list because every item in our house is telling us something that we need to do. So if we look at the sink, there's dirty dishes saying, wash me, put me in the dishwasher, unload the dishwasher, take care of me, organize me. Every item in our house needs to be cared for. It needs to be organized, washed, cleaned, put away. Don't forget about it. Don't let it get wet. Don't let bugs get into it. Remember to use it before it expires. And so it's overwhelming. The average household has 350,000 items in it. That's 350,000 things saying, do something.
Say that again. What does the average household in America have in it?
350,000.
350,000 items that we have to take care of?
Right.
Oh my goodness.
No wonder we're tired and overwhelmed, right? There's nothing wrong with you. Like there's absolutely nothing wrong with you.
Yeah. I've sometimes said, and I think maybe people think I'm being patronizing, but I sometimes have said that I think a person living in an African hut has a better chance of being happy than I do in my home with 350,000 things. And not only that, but we're managing things and we're managing schedules and we're managing calendars, and you add that all up and we're overwhelmed as women, and we want to be better people, but we feel too overwhelmed and we don't have the time to be better people because we're so encumbered by our stuff. Such good, reminders. All right. So the book is Decluttering by Faith. Her other book, super popular, Declutter Your Home in 15 Minutes a Day. We're giving away those 2 books today. And as people continue to watch this video throughout the day, Valentine's Day and beyond, the 2 ways you can get it is by posting right now in the comment area, post that you want the book, give us your email and say you want to win the book. Or after that, mine's really a bonus. Hers are more important. Mine is a bonus book. Mom, you're amazing. Post and say you would like to win the book. Give us your email, or go to info@channelmom.org. info@channelmom.org. Write us a little email and say you want to be in the running to win the book. What a cool, fun Valentine's Day gift. Okay.
That's awesome.
So remember to post. Yes, it is awesome. And your eyes look marvelous on StreamYard.
Thank you.
Like blue. I have I don't know what blue I have, but yours is better. Anyway, I know you wanted to explain to moms how their stuff is making them sick, but you didn't just want them to have to lie there in that bad place. You want to help solve it. So where do we go from just realizing that our stuff's making us sick to a solution?
So I wrote Declutter Your Home in 15 Minutes a Day because over the past 8 years, working with thousands of women to help them declutter, I've realized that decluttering is actually a pretty emotional process. We're faced with every wrong decision we've made, right? If we go to declutter our clothes, it's like the things I wanted to fit into, the things I bought on clearance, all of these fantasy self things. If we're decluttering kids' toys, it's so sad. The toys they've grown out of, the kids' clothes they've grown out of. And so it can actually be a fairly emotional process. And so my best advice for you today would be to set a timer for 5, 10, 15 minutes and just find one small area. So you could start with one drawer in your kitchen or one shelf in your linen closet. And again, we're just going to use the criteria. Have I used this in the past year? Because the best predictor of the future is actually the past. And none of us want to make a mistake when we're decluttering, but this is actually a really rock solid question because we use the same 20% of stuff in our house day in and day out. And so if you haven't used it in the past year and you don't know for sure you're using it coming up, it's pretty safe to let it go.
Yeah. And some of it, thank you for saying it's emotional. Because I think as moms, I don't know if your kids make you cry just thinking about them, but mine in a good way. I don't know. Oh my gosh, they drive me nuts, but in a good way. But so when you have to go through the little clothes and move to the next stage, you're like, one more out of kindergarten or whatever. And just memories of grandma who's not here anymore. And she gave me a shirt and it's very emotional.
Yeah.
So how do you, is the time limit one way that you get past the emotionalism of it? You say, I only have to do this for 10 minutes. I mean, or 15
yes.
minutes.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we want decluttering to be a positive experience because if you can even get one drawer decluttered today, you're going to look at it and you're going to be like, wow, that feels good. Like when I look at that drawer, it just feels better. Like our brains want things in order. It wants things in categories. It wants low inventory. And so, I mean, I would find myself, I would like finish a drawer and then I'd walk back and I'd open it and I'd just like look at it again, right?
Yeah.
That feels good. And we want to get small wins consistently. So that's why one drawer, one shelf, one bin. Don't necessarily try to tackle your whole child's room, and set aside a whole Saturday. That's actually kind of difficult. But we do these little pieces and we get these wins under our belt and we start to feel really good and we gain confidence that the things we're decluttering, we don't miss, that we're making good decisions. And my house is starting to feel better and it feels so good to simplify.
Did everybody else notice? Did your husband notice? Did your kids notice? Was there, I mean, now some of your kids were pretty little when you started this, but
they were. Well, so one of the first things I did was decluttered their toys. And it was actually because we were moving. And so I knew I needed to stage our family room. And we had a gazillion toys. And I'm like, this is like a small townhouse. I'm like, it's going to feel so small if we have all these toys. So I'm like, I have to box them up and get rid of them. And so I had Tom take the kids out one Saturday afternoon and I boxed up all their toys and they came into that room and they were thrilled. They were, ages like 1 through 5 at the time, but they just started playing with what was in there and they loved the extra space to be able to dance and play and spread out. And so it's so funny. I think kids are minimalists at heart. And so we might worry in our head, like, oh no, they're going to fight me tooth and nail, or they're going to be so sad, or I'm going to traumatize them if I declutter their toys. I would encourage you. I don't think that's going to be the case at all. I think they're going to thrive in the simplified environment.
I wonder, and I hope I'm not asking you a question that you're not prepared for, but I think you will be because you're so good at what you do. Is there such a thing as digital decluttering? Because I think now instead of, 15 toys and 10 games, our kids have this and everything's on that. Yes. And so maybe we don't have 50 toys, but they have this. So how do we declutter them of the digital stuff?
Yeah, it's good to ease them off over time. And then the best thing I can tell you is you have to let them get bored. So creativity lies just past boredom. So they're going to grumble, right? I'm so bored. What am I going to do? And I say, well, that's not my problem to solve. If you really need me to find something for you to do, the dishwasher needs to be unloaded, or you can switch out the laundry. So they don't even ask me anymore, right? That as their parent, that's not actually your problem to solve. Like you keep them safe, fed, clothed. But as far as entertaining them, they are fully capable of doing that on their own. Now, if maybe they're a little bit used to using devices to be entertained, which is fine, you have not ruined your kids. Like we all go through seasons where we sometimes rely on that a little more. It's not a big deal, but they're going to grumble about it. They're going to say they're bored. They don't know what to do. Just keep telling them, go play, go find something to do, or I'll find it for you. If it's warm out where you live, send them outside. And you might have to push them back outside like 10 times, but eventually they are going to find something that's going to engage them. And then all of a sudden, you're going to see their creativity come alive and the things that they find to do. They're going to play better together. They're not going to be as irritable anymore. Like kids that are using their imagination, they're just more content. They're more happy. The research will tell you that, and it's what we've experienced as well.
Yeah.
So you haven't ruined your kids. Like it's okay. I know, like there have been times where we relied on devices to get through a season, and that is okay. But once you get your head above water, then it's like, okay, we got to start using timers and back it off a little bit. Let them get bored. Let them figure it out for themselves, and you're going to see their creativity come alive.
I wonder what season it was that we relied on digital devices
Yeah.
and maybe addictive things and everything
Yeah.
else.
We all did, right?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
yeah.
Goodbye COVID. But
Yeah.
I want to have you. I'm going to try to keep it to about a half hour because people get overwhelmed by having to watch too much. Can you take a mom through a step-by-step sort of like, how does she say, okay, I'm going to take Dawn's advice. I'm going to maybe win her book, Declutter Your Home in 15 Minutes a Day, which you can do if you just say it in the little comments right by us, or if you go to info@channelmom.org, win her book. If she wants to say, okay, I just want to get me started on step one. Does she write down, drawer in the kitchen and then set aside 15 minutes in her calendar? Like how does it happen?
Yeah. Well, let's talk real quick. I think step one is to actually get a memory bin for you and each of your kids, because you are going to come across special stuff as you're decluttering. Even in the kitchen, you might have a Valentine's card that your kids made for you. Where does that go? Right? So it's very important that each person in your home has a memory bin. And so this can be an Amazon box that you find right now. It can be a Rubbermaid tote. Like we have clear Rubbermaid totes that I think they're like 16 quart, and each kid has one, so that when you're coming across the special stuff, that you have a spot for it to go. So we're going to put those in place. And then I do think there's 3 places I think are really great to start: kitchen, your personal clothing, or kids' toys. And yes, pick one small area. So it could be one drawer in the kitchen. It could be one drawer of your dresser in your bedroom. It could be one bin of kids' toys. And we're just going to spend 5, 10, 15 minutes on it. Again, looking for stuff that no one's using anymore. I haven't used in the past year. The kids don't play with. Especially look for toys that are broken, that they've outgrown, or that they simply don't play with anymore.
Okay. So first we have to buy something to get rid of the things, get the tote.
Yeah. I mean, you can use something. Most of us have some Rubbermaid totes lying around that we could clear a few other things out of. Honestly, an Amazon box works for now too. And then down the road, you can upgrade it if you want something prettier, or you have a better idea what size you want it to be.
Okay. I have an uncomfortable question. Are the retailers mad at you? Like I see you walk around Target and say, don't buy this, don't buy that. Like, do they get mad at you for saying, stop buying stuff?
No, I don't think my influence is as great as Target and Walmart's marketing. So far I've been okay.
Okay. What about this new book? They're so cute. Look at them. They're twins. They have different hair. That's how you can tell them apart. Yeah. But Dawn and Diana, they've written a book that's much like Declutter Your Home in 15 Minutes a Day, but it's Decluttering by Faith.
Yeah.
What's different about this? How do we declutter by faith?
I mean, you would know this, Jenny. The Bible has a lot to say about our relationship with stuff. And, at the end of the day, I think if I asked you, like, what do you want? And I think we would all say we want our kids to be happy and we want to be content. I hear that word a lot, content. Like, I would just like to be content with what I have and where I'm at right now. And I cannot believe the relationship between stuff and contentment. That as I just went layer by layer, getting rid of stuff in my home, there was peace and contentment under there. As I stopped striving to have the newest clothes and the newest vehicle and the newest toys for my kids and them in matching outfits, how all of a sudden what I had was enough, and that none of this stuff was, leading to any kind of happiness. And, I think the Bible tells us this in such a loving way, but we often interpret it as, don't love money and don't idolize your stuff. And it feels like these like harsh commands that are almost impossible.
Or judgmental even. Yeah.
Very judgmental. Yes. Where it's not like, it's like this invitation to say, good news, stuff does not make you happy at all. But as you get rid of it and you simplify your home, you have more time for your spiritual practices, to be silent, to sit, to be still, to listen, to read your Bible, to participate in Bible studies, to do these things with your kids that you've always wanted to spiritually. And you are going to find so much peace and contentment there. And this stuff is just a distraction, right? It is just like always there, saying, you got to do this, you got to do that, organize me. You don't have time to read your Bible. Like, have you seen like the kids' playroom?
Yeah.
It's, yeah, I mean, it is, as we dove into it, there's so much to say about our stuff.
Yeah. I feel like you even get emotional about it. Like, do you get emotional about it sometimes when you think
A
about?
difference. It does. Yeah. I
Yeah,
mean,
yeah, yeah. I think of sitting in my prayer chair in the mornings, and I'm not pretending I'm holier than anybody else, but I sit in my prayer chair in the mornings. And if my stuff is out of order, then I'm thinking about my stuff and not God.
yeah.
Or if my
Yeah.
kids come in and I'm stressed about a mess,
Mm-hmm.
then I'm not loving them the way that
Mm-hmm.
God calls me to love them, because I'm like, the stuff, and you guys have caused the
Yes.
stuff. And it's like, wow, it does interrupt our quality of life, our contentment, our love. It interrupts our love for God, our love for our family, our love for our children. So such fabulous advice. One more little tip, and that is, because moms want to know this. They want to know, is this going to make me richer in all the ways? And does it save time? Does it save money? Like, will they
Yes.
find they have more time and money?
Yeah, especially if you've been hoping to get your finances in order, so many women that I work with, as they declutter, now it feels possible to talk about having a budget and getting out of debt. And you just naturally start buying less because you do, as you declutter, you develop an aversion to stuff. You're like, wow, this lied to me. This lied to me. This said it was going to fix this. This was going to solve this. This was going to make me look thinner and prettier and, whatever.
Less
And you were like,
wrinkly. Less wrinkly.
yeah, right. And so you realize, you're like, wow, none of, like, if you actually looked at the things in your house that truly add value that you couldn't live without, there's so few of them. There's so few things that add that much value. And so you buy less, you stop worrying so much about, what other people are driving and wearing. You just look at your stuff so much more differently, and it does make it so much easier to be more responsible with your finances too.
Yeah, and that's biblical, is that we're not supposed to care about our stuff. And if the stuff's interrupting our ability to love people, that's biblical. Like, so many good principles. And we are lied to that our stuff's going to make us happier, and it doesn't make us happy.
Yeah.
So wonderful. We've got about 3 minutes left. I want to remind people how they can win the books. Dawn and Diana's beautiful. How do we say it's Dawn Matson? How do we say your sister's last name?
Koku.
Koku. What is that? What's the origin?
Her husband is Indian, so
cool.
Yeah,
I like her name. Tell Diana I like her name. We'll have to have so it's Decluttering by Faith. You can win this book. You can win. It's, am I saying it right? Declutter your home in 15 minutes a day. Am I saying that right? Mm-hmm. Yeah, you can win that book. Put your name in the chat. It doesn't have to be right now while we're live, but it can be as you watch it throughout the week. Put your name in the chat, or go to info@channelmom.org. And I'm hoping also that Dawn's going to share this somewhere, and you can go there from those places. You can also win my book as a bonus. Mom, you're amazing, because you are amazing. You're so amazing, Dawn. You do wonderful.
Well, and Jenny, I think because it's Valentine's Day, right? And I think we would both say we care so much about you, and you are worth so much more than something you might have spent money on, or a mistake purchase, or even gifts that you might have got for Christmas that you don't want or you don't need. And you have permission to let that stuff go from your house, because your peace of mind is so much more important than any of these physical items. You are so much more important. And I truly believe that we do feel like better moms and better wives and better sisters when we feel like our homes are under control, right? Like, we want to be good stewards of our home, but when you have so much stuff, it's nearly impossible. So you're worth it to move this stuff out so that you can enjoy that peace in your house too.
That's so true. And I think both you and I just realized this is very Valentine's-y.
It is. It's cute. Yeah.
I think you and I both have a ministry to moms. We both want to love moms, encourage moms, care for moms, advise moms. You do it through the Minimal Mom. I do it through Channel Mom. And that's why we're here, is because we want a mom to walk away from this and think, all right, I can get a new lease on life for the sake of myself and my family. So bless you for what you do, because moms need to hear this. And they don't. You're so cute. You always say you don't have to become a minimalist. Are you a minimalist, you think?
Oh yeah. I would go I would go even further. Like, yeah.
I kind of want to be one. I mean, my kid, one child's in college, one child's in law school. And I think maybe we should become minimalists. Because, for a while we had 4 cars in our driveway and all the stuff, right? Yeah. And we don't need to do that anymore. So bless you, my friend.
You too.
Last word, and tell people how to find you.
So I spend most of my time on YouTube. We have over 600 videos to help you declutter. So if there's anything that hangs you up, or even you just don't know where to start, if you head on over there, You will find encouragement and just like-minded people. Like, we get it. Like, we know it's not always easy, but it's just so worthwhile. So
Yeah, it
lots of
is.
support over there. And
It is.
then theminimalmom.com, you can find our books and different resources.
Yes, 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 yes. And I've got to believe that it's some way retailers are going to figure out they should still sponsor you because you're pointing them to some stuff, but not too much stuff. Anyway, bless you for that. Bless your family. How old are your kids
now? 8, 10, 11, and 13.
So you're not chasing people around and changing diapers anymore.
No, I feel like we're in the sweet spot right now, Jenny. Like, this is such a fun season.
Yes, it is. It is.
No cars in the driveway yet.
Yeah.
So
yeah, there's that little, that's right. No cars in the driveway. You don't have to worry about that every time I drive away. I followed my daughter to high school the first time, just like right behind her, like a weirdo. Like, oh my gosh, she's driving. She's like, Mom.
That's awesome.
Anyway, yes, enjoy this time before there are 4 cars in the driveway. Put 6 cars in the driveway for you.
Right.
God bless you. We'll have you on again on Channel Mom for our podcast and everything else. God bless you. Thanks for being on Channel Mom today.
Awesome. Thanks, Jenny.
Sure.
Bye-bye.